Our next guest is part of the legendary Emmy Award-winning magic duo, Penn and Teller, whose live show spent years on Broadway and is now the longest headlining show in Las Vegas.
Wow. And when he's not co-hosting his competition series, Penn and Teller fool us right here on the CW network. He's writing novels, and his latest is called Felony Jugger, about a street performer who finds himself enmeshed in a crime and must outwit his fellow conspirators' greatest juggling act yet. I can't wait.
It sounds very nefarious. Please welcome the one and only Penn Jillette. There he is. So good to see you. Tall drink of water.
I could eat off your head, yeah.
You actually could.
I could, yeah. A normal-sized person.
Your legs end at my shoulder, which is wonderful.
There you go, yes.
How are you feeling?
Handy. I'm doing okay.
Yeah?
It's early in the morning for me, and I'm a Vegas guy.
All right. So what time do you normally go to bed?
I usually go to bed, not too late, like 1 or 2 a.m.
I'm in my 14th dream. At 1 a.m.
I know.
At 1 a.m.
Really?
Well, thank you for busting your...
a little earlier.
Okay.
What's a little earlier?
Well, a little earlier is 1 or 2 a.m.
Okay.
It used to be I was, 4 or 5.
Very nocturnal. 5
or 6, sure.
Well,
you get off work at midnight. Takes you a little while to unwind.
Right. We appreciate that you have busted up your circadian rhythm to spend time with us today.
Yes.
Always.
So most folks know you, the magic and comedy duo. I was not shocked to hear that you had written something, published it, a novel with a great title. The word on the street is it's like an autobiography?
Well, yeah, it's kind of sort of ish. I went from high school. Notice I didn't say graduated. I went from high school to being a street performer, to busking, and living just hitchhiking, hopping trains, all the stuff Bob Dylan said he did and didn't really do, I really did. And I would tell friends stories from that time, stories from working out in the streets and, hitchhiking around. And they said, you should write a book. And I said, well, yeah, but I've written 11. But my friends don't read them. I decided to write this, but I just seemed a little, creepy to write an autobiography. So I added a bank robbery and a murder on top of it. But all the stuff under that is true. So I tell a lot of street performing stories and a lot of juggling at Renaissance festivals. You see, I started out as a juggler way before I was a magician.
But you were offered a life of crime on the streets.
Oh, yeah, I was. That's all true.
Okay, I want to hear more about that. That's the juice right there.
Yeah, when I was juggling, I was a guy who could talk. So the criminals really wanted a person who could be a front man and be able to talk in scams and stuff. So they pushed very hard for me to do that, but it's just not the way I was brought up. I was brought up to hop trains and live on the street, but not to actually engage in criminal activities.
There are limits to this.
But it was a very different time. We're talking about 72, 73, and I was 74. I was very, very close to my parents. I'm not someone who ran away from home. I was very close to them. I called them collect every day. And they were very happy with me juggling on the street.
Yeah.
And, from a middle-class family in Western Massachusetts. My dad was a jail guard, and he was very happy. It's funny. I had hair way past my shoulders. And my father never crossed his mind I would ever consider doing a drug. And he was correct. I never had a sip of alcohol or a puff of marijuana or any recreational drug in my life. But yet I was a very good hippie, except for hygiene and drug abuse. I was a perfect
You were
hippie.
perfect.
You smelled good, you looked good, you stayed off the sauce.
We're going to James Brown
Straight and narrow, and now
I make love good. Yeah. Do the whole James Brown speech, right?
Oh.
Smell good, look good, feel good.
Right.
I make love good.
All the things
that
good.
Wonderful interview with James Brown.
You were really ahead of your time, especially with your parents. Do you attribute your success to that?
Well, yeah, it's very fashionable and probably also true, but fashionable as well to talk about, especially in comedy, how bad your upbringing was in dysfunctional family and so on. I had the most perfect parents who have ever lived. and they treated me wonderfully. My parents were older. My mom was 45 when I was born, which was rather remarkable
at the time.
back then. My sister was 23 years older than me, so I might not have been planned. I don't know.
I mean,
who plans 2 children 23 years apart? I don't know. But they were just as supportive and as wonderful as possible. And they lived long enough to, you know, I got to limo them down to see me on Broadway several times.
It's amazing.
They got to see me on Saturday Night Live and stuff. So it was just wonderful. You know, it's kind of. I'm also an old parent. My children were born when I was 50, so I'm even older than my mom was relatively, and. It's a pretty wonderful thing. I mean, it's wonderful to have all your problems out of the way and be able to just focus on your children's problems, which is what my parents did. And, you know, the downside, of course, is that you die sooner.
right.
But can we talk about something joyous, though, which is
Sure.
your
Parents dying is
parents
joyous.
is dying is
I mean, we live.
No, but I
we
was
die.
talking about how
We die.
wonderful my parents were.
I hope my kids say that about me, honestly.
I know, me too.
But you've been together now 50 years.
50 years working with Teller.
What's the magic sauce in that? It's 50 years.
Well, you know, many of your teams fall in love. I mean, Lennon and McCartney were in love. Jagger and Richards are in love. Certainly, you mentioned earlier Gilbert and Sullivan, Martin and Lewis. And Teller and I never had that. Teller and I were always co-workers. And we always thought we did better stuff together than we did separately. So our attitude toward working together is really like we were running a 7-Eleven together or something. So if we don't get along, we don't care. We're just there to do the show. And I mean, over 50 years, of course, he's become my best friend. My children insist I call him my BFF. But, you know, he was the one that was there. He was the first, other than medical staff and family, to see my children when they were born. When our, you know, for any sort of real life-changing thing, we're around each other. But for the most part, we work together all the time. So if we were to go out socially in the evening, it'd be like, what did you do today, Teller? Same damn thing you did. Exactly. Every moment. Every single moment was precisely the same as your day.
Is that how you open up the tour, this 50th anniversary tour that's gonna at Radio City? You look at each other and you say, we've been doing the exact same thing.
We don't look at each other at all.
Ever.
As a matter, no, not we worked together, but then I noticed that we hadn't rehearsed in the afternoons, so I was walking on stage and I realized I hadn't seen Teller except last time he was on stage, because we enter from different sides.
Right.
So we can be in the same building, but it's not like the Everly Brothers who will not talk to each other. We just don't happen to. And then we work together, you know, the days we rehearse, we're together all day.
It's incredible.
This is the way to do it. This is relationships. There is so much
you
to
know,
learn.
it may be a sad thing to say, but respect is more robust than love.
Yeah,
Love can do this, but respect just is kind of rock solid.
it's constant.
Sandy, absolutely. Well, thank you, Penn. And make sure, where are we going? We're going to the Bell House, because you have a show.
Bell
We're going
House.
to Brooklyn
I'm going to be
tonight.
reading from my book, and I'll even be doing some juggling, which I don't do much. Then we'll also be in Jersey the next night, and then of course I'm coming to Radio City.
It's incredible.
You know, we started out off Broadway, then went Broadway, then we went radio. So we're going to end up in the river eventually. We're moving east. We're moving right across.
Thank you so much. And
Well,
for more information on tickets, go to pennandteller.com and thebellhouseny.com.
Yeah.